Hello and welcome to this episode of the Accelerated ID series. My name is Shantae Skildegger and I am the founder and chief trainologist of the Instructional Design Company, the founder of the Hangout and creator of the Instructional Design and Tech Accelerator Certificate Program. Now, a couple of times each month, we offer this free training in our Accelerated ID series, which has been designed to help new and aspiring instructional designers like you get skilled up in instructional design. So we are so happy to have you here with us today. Now, before I became an instructional designer, I was a classroom teacher. I taught fifth grade social studies and science. I even did a one-year stint in sixth grade, which about killed me. But something happened in my life. I had a life change and I made the decision to leave the classroom. At the time, I had no idea what I was going to do, but I stumbled across instructional design. I had no idea what it was, but I'm so glad that I found it. Since that time, it has been my passion, and I have been very fortunate and blessed to work with many client companies and many different corporations, and to work with course creators, authors, and coaches. And my favorite part of what I do is working with new and aspiring instructional designers like you. So with us, we have our very talented Storyline 360, Rise 360 guru, Steven. We like to call him our Storyline Ninja. He is a Storyline coach, a Rise coach. He is a facilitator of our Storyline 360 content in our Instructional Design and Tech Accelerator Certificate Program, and also a coach for that program. But he coaches outside of our program. He's got his own client base. He's been doing this for 15 years. And like most e-learning developers, his skill set, his tool chest goes way beyond Storyline 360 and Rise 360. So you are in very good hands today with Steven. And I am so fortunate that I feel so fortunate that he is here with us as part of our free Accelerated ID series for you all. Hey, Steven, so glad that you are here.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today for the Rise 360 overview. The benefits of Rise 360 is that you don't need install rights on your work computer or anything to get going on Rise 360. It's not a localized app, it is a web app, so you can just use a web browser, of course. And also, it's part of your 360 subscription every year, so it's included with all the other products. The one trade-off, of course, with Rise 360, there is only a fraction of the features you get from Storyline 360. There are more than enough tools and web parts within the web app to make a pretty interactive course. Maybe not as immersive as Storyline, but enough to engage your learners, enough to get them through your learning and click on multiple things to kind of keep them engaged. There is the versatility for desktop and mobile users. So whether or not you have a mobile workforce or a desktop or blended, whichever modality, the courseware will adapt to whatever screen size you have. So it's going to look great on iPad, iPhone, Android, other tablet types, Surface, whatever you have, your Rise courseware, it's going to look good. So that's one of the greater selling points. Sure, you trade off some features, but your stuff is going to look great no matter what. Let's go on to the main page here, rise.articulate.com. This is my homepage, what you're looking at here. This is just a lot of past projects here. You have thumbnails, and that's just a cover art that you could select for your main page, which we'll look at in a minute. And with Rise 360, you can organize your projects as you should going forward. When you have many Rise projects, you'll want to use the folders feature off to the left. So you could maybe organize it by project name or a client name if you're going the freelance route. But if you're within a company as a full-time employee, I do recommend using the folders and naming your folders after the project just to keep your stuff nice and tidy and easily accessible. One good feature about this homepage, you have this ellipsis right here, this 3 dots. You can go ahead and click on it. And if you're on a multi-developer team, you can go ahead and share your work. You can go ahead and click send a copy, in which you can type the company email of your coworker, and then that person can take over should you just need to hand off your project, or if someone else is going to continue the work for whatever reason. And then you can also type in a message below before you hit send. Another option here in the ellipsis menu, you can export the course, and that's for LMS publishing. So you could get it into a SCORM or tin can format. You also have a duplicate option, which is fantastic when you want to have a separate course where there might be a lot of identical content. You can save yourself the process of duplicating content manually by doing the duplicate option here. Also, you have a move to option in which you can move it from one folder to another. And then, of course, you have a delete option, which will go to your deleted courses menu or folder off to the left. And then I believe you have maybe up to 30 days to recover that. There's no note in there from what I could see, but don't leave it in there too long if you intend on restoring a deleted item. All right, so that's a quick overview of the homepage. Let's go ahead and create a course. This button off to the left is the new course button. So let's go ahead and click that. And what do we have here? We have a wizard of sorts. It's a create new wizard. Choose how you'd like to start building your course. You have a lot of great starter templates. Storyline, or Articulate rather, loves to give newer developers and designers a leg up. That's definitely a positive when you're not sure what you want your stuff to look like. You have different categories like compliance, customer success, and everything else you see here. You can kind of poke about and see what it is that they offer. You could even preview by clicking the preview button over the thumbnail to see what that kind of looks like. There's that cover art I mentioned from the homepage. It's right there at the top. You have your introduction text in this area. And a good note about the introduction text area is that it's pretty sparse, and it's by design. It doesn't allow you to do a lot of rich design. You're not going to be able to put in images or interactive blocks. It's just text with some formatting like bolding, italics, and underline. And that's about it. It's just meant to be a quick intro. This is what your course is about. And that's really it. Followed by your course or module tree below, which are called lessons. Every item here is called a lesson. I know every company has different terminology for how they phrase their courseware. You know, your curriculum, course, module, you know, in that hierarchy. Here, they just happen to use the word lesson. Maybe your company might call it module. Maybe these are considered modules in your company speak. But as far as Articulate goes, the speak is lessons. Each item here is a lesson. All right. So starting from the top, what do we have? We have these buttons up here. By default, you have desktop. This is what it's going to look like when you're on a desktop browser, Chrome, Safari, Edge, whatever you use, Firefox. This is the default. Most people still use e-learning from a desktop. So this is what people will see. If you wanted to mouse over here and click on tablet portrait mode, it scales it down to give you an idea of what it will look like to a tablet user. Then, of course, if you turn your tablet in landscape mode, this is what it's going to look like as well. You can kind of scroll within the frame of the tablet graphic to get an idea of what that experience is like for the learner. And then, of course, we have a mobile portrait mode for phones like your iPhone or Android. You can see how it scales down. And of course, if you were to turn your phone sideways, landscape mode, this is what it'll look like. Everything adapts very nicely. Let's go ahead and switch it back to desktop mode. Starting from the top, you have your name. Most occasions, you probably don't want your name up top. So let's see what we can do to hide that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the preview if we can. We can't preview it because we haven't even started the course. So that's why I couldn't find the button there. Let's go ahead and select the course so we can actually add it to my library. And now we can edit the module template Fishing 101, which now I entered. And now we're in edit mode. So the buttons are gone. The little swapperoo between phone and tablet and desktop, we're in edit mode. So those tabs are now here for settings, share, review, export, and preview, which if I hit preview, you'll see those toggles have returned so you can kind of see everything. But as I was going into before, I see my name here, which you would see your name there if you were logged in. For final products, a lot of times in my experience, employers or clients don't want to see anyone's name. So if they happen to say, hey, lose the name, not relevant, just go ahead and click your name and hide author. That's all. That's all you got to do. Up top, you have your titling area for the template. This is the Fishing 101 template. So the title value is present already. But of course, if you want to customize it for your company, that's where you provide your custom title. And down here in the middle, just as I mentioned before, a very sparse area by design, just to give some information to your learners about what your module or lesson is about. If you highlight your text, you get a formatting bar. As I mentioned, you get your bold, italics, underline, and other options like strike through, superscript, font size, colors, links. So you can do a little bit, but not a lot. You can align, left align, center, all that. You could have bullets, numbered bullets, all that is available to you, but nothing super immersive, just some formatting. All right. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and move on to the bottom area. This is your lesson tree, your course tree, your module tree, whatever you want to call it. These are officially lessons. They pre-populated 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lessons here for this template. Down here, if you wanted to add another section, we could just type in whatever. Maybe there's just a lesson or part of the module called SharePoint. And you can go ahead and click add content after you label it and select lesson. Backing out with the arrow at the top left, I can move SharePoint by holding down my left part of my trackpad or mouse, and then I could just reorder it to drop it wherever I need. You're not limited to the template as to what pages you want to use. These are just guesses and placeholders for content. You can add and delete lessons at your will. You can rename them. You can do whatever you want to do. Let's go ahead and click edit content. For the first item, what is fishing? Suppose we went ahead and inserted this lesson from a blank course. This all wouldn't be here. But if I wanted to give you an example, I could go ahead and hit delete all of these, and we can just go ahead and recreate it from scratch as if we created a blank course. You can see off to the left, it gives you some quick confirmations and a quick moment to undo if you accidentally click something or you just change your mind. It just gives you a few seconds to click that little undo link that you saw on the bottom left before it goes away permanently. If I hit Control Z, it's not going to undo. So if you're thinking, oh, I could just hit the undo shortcut on my keyboard, unfortunately, that's not available. So be sure once you delete something that you mean it. If you happen to catch it in that moment where you could hit undo, go ahead and click it. But once it's gone, it's gone. All right. So let's go ahead and finish deleting the items. And now we have an empty lesson. So down here is a carousel or a row of suggested blocks. Commonly, maybe the most common blocks people would want to use: text, a bullet list, images, video, a process block for swiping through, You have flashcards, you have a sorting activity, a labeled graphic, and a continue button. Typically, what you want to start with is maybe an immersive image to set the tone or the mood or the voice of your lesson. So normally I would click image, which the image always starts off with this smaller medium photo of a bicycle. That just happens to be the default. It's not really meant to be used unless you happen to be making a course about bicycles, right? But chances are it's not. What I see happen a lot are cover photos with text on top. That seems to be a very popular setting for the image block. If you go over to the left, this dropdown is your options on how to configure how an image displays. So you have the default image centered, which is what we have present now. And then the next one is image full width, which corner to corner. No text on top is permitted. But if we do text on image, that's what we had before we deleted everything on the sample page or lesson. So here you could type, welcome to the lesson. And then you could type other text, of course. You could format it, Control B, Control I for italics, or just use the hovering formatting bar, of course. So that's the most common way to format your opening block for images, text on an image. Notice it will darken the image in the background to give greater contrast between the text and the image that sits beneath. Your other options, image and text, which you have the smaller image with the text area off to the side with a caption area down here. This is how they do captioning somewhat for accessibility. But if you go to edit and settings, you could see other options about padding and image position, left or right. You could swap it over. But there's no alt text per se for this image like storyline. Your screen reader software is going to look for the caption area instead of a alt text description. Just keep that in mind if your company is big on accessibility. So over here, we have the other options. We have a carousel, which is just a plain image with a caption area right now. And then we have a 2-column grid. And then add image. Let's add something to it. And there it is. So if you happen to have a need to have 2 images side by side, maybe you're doing a comparison type of graphic, maybe you want to compare 2 different products and product sell sheets, for example, you could do that. You can upload it from your local computer versus going to the library by just hitting edit and choosing replace image, which will allow you to go ahead and pull up something from your local C drive. You have options to crop your images after the fact. You can even add an alt tag, which I mentioned earlier. The other option just only had a caption area beneath, but in other areas for images, they happen to provide an actual proper alt text box. Why that is not consistent, I don't know. It is a choice they made. Articulate made that choice, and that's why Rise is not the most perfect for accessibility. But between the 2 options of having a caption area and proper alt text fields, screen readers will be able to pick it up. So those who happen to need screen readers won't be left out. They will have something comparable for their screen reader to pick up. So it won't be a poor experience by any means for those needing screen readers. The options on our end as developers and designers just happen to be a little inconsistent, but nonetheless, there will be a captioning opportunity for anything that you do. So that is the good news. All right. Over here, one more. We got 3 column and 4 column, which, as you can guess, just adds more images into the row. And when you look at the preview for tablet and phone, it will scale down and make it into like a 2x2 layout, just so everyone can see the images better. All right, so that's a good opening block for a lesson. I want to switch it back to text on image. So what do you do next? Well, it's really up to your imagination. Maybe you are the ID and the developer, which is common in a lot of companies. You have to wear both hats for one paycheck. So if you happen to hold the keys to how something should look, you can go ahead and just start freewheeling, if you will. Maybe you don't know what you want before you actually provide it on a storyboard, which is very common. Sometimes you just want to play with something and see what you can come up with before you provide it, maybe through a screenshot into a storyboard template. If that's how you work, then you can go ahead and do that. You can just go ahead and play with some of the items here. I like to do a divider. It's a very light gray item just to give some separation between blocks. I like to go ahead and put text as my next block, because after I have my immersive image with some introduction text for the lesson, I like to have more of a text-based approach for expounding on maybe the previous point if there is some continuation from the text that sits on top of the image. Here, you can put your header, and then your body will go underneath. Or if you don't need the header, you can go back to that left standing menu again, and you can just turn it off by just going to paragraph to lose the header. And there you have it, just plain old text. As before, you can do bullet points if you happen to want to format some items beneath your text, so it's just not a wall of words. Go ahead and use your bullet points as liberally as you want, just to create some separation so the eyeballs won't just be overly consumed with too much text. All right. You have other web parts here. Let's go ahead and click all blocks over here so you can see everything. We have a slew of items, not all listed here on the main carousel. You have a quote, you have a list, you have gallery, interactive, you have knowledge check, you have chart, divider, which divider has continue, which is on the carousel, but other type of dividers. You have the gray line that I just inserted. You also have a numbered divider. You have a spacer, which is just white space. If you don't want to even have a gray line, you can just have some empty white space to kind of push things down and create the appearance of separation and non-associated blocks of information. Play with it. Choose one, see which one fits your fancy, and go with that. Whatever you choose, just make it consistent so there's some logic behind your design. Let's say you wanted to create a duplicate. For some reason, it's under all blocks, under block templates, and then you can hit this new block template button, which activates on the page for some reason. Again, that's how they decided to do it. You see these gray circles here. You'll want to check the gray circle that sits on top of the block you want to duplicate to put on another page to answer your question directly. So let's say it's the image of the bicycle with the text on top. That happens to be the consistent design element you want on all your lessons. Go ahead and click that circle. Now it's lit up in black. And up top here, you want to click save. Once you click save, you get this dialog box in the middle. Name your block template, and we'll just call it cover image example. Then you click save. And let's say I wanted to put it on the next item down here, fishing fundamentals, right? I'm going to click edit content. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's get rid of this one. Click the plus sign. go to block templates, and then over here, cover image example. Boom, it's there. I didn't have to recreate it. I didn't have to retype anything. It retained the image I wanted plus the text I had when I saved it. All right, let's go ahead and look at other blocks here so we can see what else we have afforded to us to make a really immersive lesson. All right, so when I'm done with another block of text after my image, again, I like to do another separator through the divider area. So a little separation there. Let's say the client I'm working with has a video. Maybe they just have a CEO introducing something or a product or saying, hey, welcome to the company. If you wanted to provide that, just hit that video block down here on the carousel. And it puts a placeholder video of a town by the sea. You could play it if you want. You can see the player there. This is what it looks like. You do have some options here for playback speed. You have a picture-in-picture, which moves it down to the bottom of your page. You have a full screen button, which Storyline doesn't have. That's a plus. And then you have volume control as well for the video. There's a caption area down here to add some captions. Maybe for compliance sake, you want to put the transcript. That's where you would put that. But for editing, right now, there is not a proper closed captioning option. So that is one drawback. You're kind of stuck with using the captioning area for transcript purposes. If you do have a need for transcripts or closed captioning, it's just one of those situations where it's forced, where you just have it on and embedded into the video, the MP4 video itself, and then you just embed that by clicking edit and choosing edit again and replace. Oh, the manage captions area actually does exist. Scratch that. They actually have a VTT option here, but not the handwritten option. That's what I was kind of alluding to, rather. In Storyline, you do have that editor where you can just hand type your captioning. Not available. But they do have a VTT option over there for captions. English, and then you can upload. So yes, if you have someone on your team, if you're not experienced with the VTT, let them prepare it for you so you don't have to learn it. But if you happen to learn it and know it, you can provide your VTT there. But no hand writing your own video captioning is the important thing to take away there. Only Storyline has that. All right. What else can we go over? We have other blocks here. Let's say they should watch the video in its entirety. Maybe you don't want them to skip ahead to the next lesson or the latter half of the lesson they're currently in. Let's go ahead and choose continue under the divider area. And then you have your default continue button. By default, it's unlocked, noted by just a solid color with the word continue. If you want it to be locked, you can just hover over to get that edit icon. Choose completion type, complete block directly above. That way they watch the entire video before they're allowed to move on. So let's say the next part is actually the next lesson. Let's say we're done with this first introduction lesson. We can go ahead and go to the next one by backing out like I just did, which brings us back to the main page. And we can click edit content. Over here, we have some other blocks. This is another text style called statement B. And you can see the thumbnail off to the left. You have just different formats of how that could look. Some of them don't look so good. Some of them, in my opinion, are kind of hard on the eyes. But if you happen to like any of them, you could just swap them out to see what kind of fits your company's design guidelines. Here's an example of a full bullet list. You even have a quizzing item here. You can go ahead and click edit to customize the options if you have a multi-select or multi-response type of question, or maybe you want to create your own. You can click plus, you can go to knowledge check, and you can choose multiple choice, multiple response, fill in the blank, matching, or draw from a question bank, which is in beta. I played with the beta one. It doesn't work quite so good, so be careful with that. Might be a little buggy. But more commonly, you want to do multiple choice or multiple response. I just chose multiple response. It's pretty straightforward. You see your question area. You can just type in there immediately my question here. You can even customize your options, I believe, here. Option 1, 2, the plus icon. You want to make some formatting like item 1, item 2. Gives you a little versatility. But if you want to add more, which normally you have 4 when you do multiple choice, you can click the edit icon and type other options there. So now I have 4 options, as you see off to the right. And then your feedback area, you can do correct, incorrect, or by choice, depending on if you want very custom feedback. All right. We have an accordion block here. You can do that by clicking the plus sign, going to interactive, and choosing accordion, which would place something like this. An accordion, you just click the block plus sign, and you see text, which is just a click to reveal. Nothing super immersive, but it's just another way to hide your content so it doesn't just have a wall of words. You can avoid just doing paragraph block after paragraph block and choose accordion to kind of organize your content in a more neat fashion. Inside the edit mode of the accordion, you do have options to add media. You could upload media. You can search your content library. I just chose that image, which, as you can see, just puts it underneath the text. And you can do the same for the others or not. What else? We did accordions. Sorting activity. Sorting activity is not super immersive. It's a drag and drop in a way, as you can see. You're using your mouse. You know, you can't even put it into a quizzing type of results thing. It's non-graded, if you will, in storyline speak. If you go to edit, you can see your 2 categories. You can customize the names. You can click the items. Keep clicking add and just customizing which category it should go under, and then the sorting activity. When I click close, that's all it is. Nothing crazy. Not my cup of tea. If you happen to find a use for it, that's pretty much it for your drag and drop. So if you happen to have a really cool drag and drop you did in storyline, then maybe storyline is the better option to embed a storyline custom drag and drop. Otherwise, you're limited to this one. What else? We have flashcards. That's another great block. Front of card. You have a hint to click the flip, and then you get the option to see more text or an image. You can hit edit, and then you can customize the modality, text, center image, or full card image. You can click edit to upload your own image or choose anything from the content library 360. And of course, customize your text by just typing whatever. And you can see it off to the right. As I update it on the left, it updates the preview on the right. We could add many cards or as little cards as you need. You can also use the continue button to lock them in, of course, if you need to have them complete all the flips. Complete block directly above. What else? Multimedia audio. Unlike storyline, you can't just have the lesson narrated start to finish as you scroll up and down a page. So if you wanted to have something play, maybe put the audio block at the top and click this arrow off to the right to rearrange your blocks. And you can have them just click that and they can play it as they scroll and listen to the audio. It'll be asynchronous. It won't sync up to whatever they're looking at. But again, that's a trade-off with the Rise. You're not going to have synchronized audio to your objects. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to decide if Rise is the right tool for the job. If you happen to need synchronized audio with objects, then Storyline would be the better option. But if asynchronous is cool, then Rise should do the job just fine. Let me back out of the lesson and go to export. All right. And export. There you are. All right. So looks different than your publishing window, of course, from Storyline 360. Let's start from the top. You have your title, which it's already locked in. This is not a field. If you wanted to edit it, go back to the main page to update your title. Back to export. You have your type, LMS, PDF, or web. LMS, of course, because mostly everything you're going to do is going to be for the LMS. Your type, most people I've worked with have 1.2. Once in a while, I'll see the other options, but not often. But whatever is aligned with your company's LMS, choose that. Tracking, 100% is the default. Keep it if that's what you need. Otherwise, you could choose quiz result if you have a quiz, which that would be lit up if we did, which we don't right now, hence why it's grayed out. And then a storyline block. Storyline blocks can be used to track through a completion trigger. It's a little more advanced, nothing too crazy, but that option would be available and detected and thus lit if you did have a storyline block that had a complete trigger within that storyline container. Reporting, that has two options, past incomplete or complete incomplete. Choose the one that your company has. Someone in your LMS department or whoever owns the LMS per se will let you know what that is if you don't know. And then a exit course link. It says to add a link that lets learners easily return to the LMS. I've never had anyone ask for that, but if someone asks you to do that, that's where you enable it. You do have more settings, which is just one more item to reset learner progress. And I think that's good. It's up to your person who has a spec sheet if they want it to be reset. But I would keep it off maybe if you wanted to resume, if they happen to want to come back and resume later at a later time. Whatever works for your project manager. And once they're done, you can click export, which you get this window. And then you get your download, and then you could save your zip to your local drive to upload to an LMS. And that is exporting in a nutshell. Nothing complicated, just gives you a few options. You shouldn't get lost in it, hopefully. But if you are reviewing before you export for your final build, click that review tab and just name it whatever you want and click publish. And that will put it into Review 360, just like Storyline. Click View in Review 360. And there it is. It's in the Review 360 site. People can still comment off to the right, just like Storyline. You can click Start Course and navigate it just like a user. You can hide the comments bar, of course, to get more room to see it in its full immersion as well. All right. And you can see it checks off on the left as you go. Your progress is indicated with the check marks and a progress percentage off to the left. So your learner knows how far along they are into your course.
Thank you, Stephen. Like, this was so valuable. And I knew it was going to be valuable even before we started, right? If somebody follows along in this video on the replay and watches it, they could definitely build a RISE lesson just by following, right? So, Stephen, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate having you in our groups leading our Articulate lessons, and just really appreciate your knowledge and your willingness to share your expertise. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you.
And again, we do these twice a month on different topics. So come back and see us in a couple of weeks, and we'll have another Accelerated ID episode here for you. In the meantime, keep growing, keep developing, keep working on making progress towards your instructional design goals. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.